Rumi was once asked, "Is there a way into the divine realm here on earth?" He replied, "Yes. There is a door between this world and the divine. For every person, its size is subtly different, for it has the shape each person makes when on their knees. No one enters the rose garden unless lost in adoration and wonder. No one walks through that door except on their knees." You know, I was thinking, I just reminded somehow something someone said earlier. You may all know it, but it's probably worth hearing again. When Mani Baba's sister was a little girl, um, the teacher had asked them for each of them to write a prayer, come up with a prayer. So she came home and she said to her father, Baba's father, Shariar, I need a prayer, but I'm very busy and everything's got to be very short. Can you help me? And so he nodded and everything, and I'll come up with a prayer. So she goes back to school, and the next day she says, "Well, did you come up with a prayer? I need a prayer. Make sure it's short. It just because I'm very busy." And I think she went, came a third time home. I think he still didn't have a prayer for her. On the third day, she came home and said, "Okay, Daddy, do you have a prayer?" He said, "Yes." "Well, will it take long?" "It won't take any time at all." "No time at all?" "No time at all." What is the prayer? "Never to speak ill of anyone." That's what Baba's father said. Never speak ill of anyone. Doesn't take any time.
Wow, that's profound.
Yeah. Baba's father had such an atmosphere around him. She said as a little girl, looking up, he was always saying, she could see the roof of his mouth, and he was always saying, "Yes, done, yes, done, yes, done, yes, done." Always repeating the name of God. And so and he was a very quiet person, and people would come to him with problems and everything, and they would be maybe sitting out in the garden, and they would just sit next to him for a certain while, and then they'd get up and leave. But their problems would be resolved in his quietness. You know, somehow they got the answer, even if he didn't say anything. There's a line from Einstein where he says, "No problem can be solved with the same consciousness that went into creating it." No problem can be solved with the same consciousness that created it. So they would come in, I'm just picturing, they would come in to see Baba's father, with a problem, but then in sitting with him, their consciousness would widen and widen, and they would get an answer from a larger consciousness just by sitting next to him. You know?
Mm.
Yeah. Uh, so, Farishta, did you read any of Hafiz?
Hafiz is taking a summer vacation.
Oh, okay.
Actually, yeah, I've been trying to just do the translation work,
Yeah,
and I vowed myself to take all of July and try to crank a few more out.
yeah.
But if you insist, I will whip one out.
I certainly like them, and I don't know about the rest of you, but they're like moments in eternity.
Oh,
You're getting from Hafiz, you know, such a great soul. Yeah.
All right, let's do number, I don't know, 65. Let's see what it says, if it's done. Our 65 is empty. Oopsies. See, but Hafiz chooses to be silent. Let's do 57. If you call me to yourself with compassion, it is due to the excess of your mercy. And if you chase me away in displeasure, I am serene within. It is beyond the realm of possibility to describe you, because describing you falls outside of the limits of the tongue. It is possible to see the face of the hidden beloved with the eyes of love, for the light of the eye of a lover spans from shore to shore. Having unveiled the face of God, recite a sacred verse, for it would be the verse describing the status of the discovery of a pioneer. The adversary who is envious of Hafiz's sensibility in verse is the same recounter of the story of Huma and the way of the devil. And my little note in parentheses says, not sure about this line.
Read that,
So
that line.
I have to really ponder that and research it.
Read it again, that line.
The adversary who is envious of Hafiz's sensibility in verse is the same recounter of the story of Huma and the way of the devil. Huma being the bird of paradise.
Yeah. Is that
So,
adversary? Are you saying adversary?
yeah, the
Okay.
opponent, adversary, the non-believer,
Yeah.
the people who pestered Hafiz nonstop for being a rogue.
Yeah. So there must be a story about Huma and the devil that we
I
don't.
think so, yes. I have to research that. I think I did this one recently, so I have to put some work into that one. But yeah, it's amazing.
That's the end?
That was the end.
Okay.
It's a short one. Only 5 lines.
Mm-hmm. 5 couplets or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I was thinking with Silence Day coming up, there are a couple of things that that Erich used to share about Baba's silence. I mean, Bob himself. Apparently, I think Erich kind of yelled at one of the servant boys for that they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And as I recall, these are as I recall. And when he came back into Mandalay Hall, at some point, Baba said to the Mandalay that were sitting around, you know, why do 2 people shout at each other in spite of being right next to each other, right in front of each other? So and as Bob would normally do, he would ask and people would give various answers. And in the end, Baba said, because their hearts are far away and they have to shout across that distance. And then Baba said, when 2 people love each other, you know, they talk more softly. As they love even more deeply, they just whisper. And eventually, just gazing at each other is enough. And then Baba said, you know, I observe silence. I am nearer to you than your own breath. No need for words. That's as I kind of remember it. But here's another explanation Baba gave of his silence that Erich would relate. Baba one day said to the Mandalay, you know, people talk all day, where do all the words go? You know, I mean, whole cities are talking, and you know what happens? I think some of the mandali said, well, they just go into thin air and whatever. That all sorts of explanations are given. Eventually, Baba said, they collect as clouds and hang over whole cities. You know, like almost like pollution, you might say. All of the words. I mean, just imagine in like New York City, all the talk that goes on. It just hangs over like dark clouds. And Baba said, my silence is to absorb that noise so that you can hear the voice of your own soul.
Hmm.
I don't know if you people are hearing that, but it's,
That's amazing.
That's
Thank you.
profound.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, you don't think in terms of, I mean, we don't see this, but I mean, you can come into a room and you can sometimes tell that an argument just took place there, you know? I mean, the vibe.
Well, you know, this kind of reminds me of what happened the first few days of the lockdown, you know. Like the whole world stopped for especially the first week or so. And, you know, you would take a walk and the streets were empty, the air was cleaner, you know, everything was cleaner. And there was this sense of sparkle and serene joy in the air, which is there all the time. You know, Baba said bliss is around us all the time. We just don't see it because of the noise of the mental jibber jabber of ours and everyone else's. So that, you know, that makes sense totally.
Yeah, it was very clear, and there wasn't all of that static in the air for about a month.
Was it a month? It seemed like a week. It went by too soon.
Well, yeah.
I was hoping it would last and last.
Yeah,
It was beautiful.
yeah.
It was so great to drive to 17.
Oh,
There was very few cars. It was like a dream, you know. 17 was like almost empty, you know, to travel, you know, to drive. It was very, very sweet. Mama gave us a little break, you know.
Yeah.
we walked the beach even though we weren't supposed to. We disobeyed the law, went around the yellow tape and went on the beach because I really wanted to be on the beach, really needed to be on the beach. And we were walking and there were a few other law bending people. And I just looked at their faces and there was such radiance coming from these people. I mean, I'm like, okay, this is Baba's new humanity. This is like manifestation. And I just walked down, and then when I was going back to my car, I saw another lady walking her dog, and I said, spontaneously, I said, now I know what they mean by the meek shall inherit the earth.
Yeah.
It was just beyond words.
Yeah. Yeah. I see we've got
Hey,
a lot.
everybody.
Yeah. See you,
If
Al.
I don't tell my joke, I'm going to forget it.
Oh, you're gonna
Okay.
If I
Okay,
don't
Al.
tell my joke, I'm going to forget it. It's about forgetfulness.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, anyway, these
Tell
three
your joke.
brothers lived together. They were old timers. One was 92, one was 94, one was 96. They were so forgetful that in the middle of doing something, they forget what they were doing. So the oldest brother's upstairs, says, hey, you guys, give me a hand. This bathtub's full, but I can't remember if I was supposed to get in or get out. So the 94-year-old says, I'll come give you a hand. Halfway up the steps, he says, hey, I can't remember if I was going up the steps or down the steps. And the youngest, who's 92, he's having a cup of coffee in the kitchen, says, oh, God, I hope I never get to be that forgetful. Knock on wood. He says, wait a minute, I'll give you a hand as soon as I see who's at the door. I hope Al doesn't get that forgetful.
Hey, what about tell the one about the parrot.
What?
Tell the one about the parrot that gets put in the refrigerator.
Oh, I told that
Oh,
one.
yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
But
Tell
there's
it
another-
again. I don't remember it.
There was another, actually, I have 3 parrot jokes. One about the priest who had 2 parrots and the woman who bought 2 naughty parrots, and the one that ended up in the refrigerator. And the last one, this parrot, actually, this guy breaks into a house. I told this before, but I'll tell it again. It's my latest parrot joke. And as he enters, he hears this voice. He says, Jesus is going to get you. Jesus is going to get you. He gets some voice. He doesn't know if he's hallucinating auditory or not. So he goes to detach the wires from the stereo. And again, he hears, shouldn't do that. Jesus is going to get you. He sees everything you do. Jesus is going to get you. So he turns his flashlight on and this parrot in the corner. He says, some stupid parrot. He says, and what's your name? My name is Moses. My name is Moses. Moses, what kind of stupid name is that? Who would name a parrot Moses? The same people that named the Rottweiler Jesus. The same people that named the Rottweiler Jesus. Okay, that's it
Yeah.
for me. I got to go. My phone's dying on me. So I'll say good night to everyone and see you tomorrow morning. Listen, a reminder to everybody, tomorrow is Beloved God Prayer in different languages. So we especially want to hear some Indian languages and maybe some languages we haven't heard before. Okay, good night, everybody, and Jai Baba.
Yeah, Al.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Like
Jai
we got
Baba.
we got a few people from India here. We got Dinku.
Hi, Janesha. Are you going to bed? No, you're not, because you're just waking up.
Yes.
All right, honey. It was nice
Bye-bye.
having you with us. Bye. Jai Baba.
Pari, how are you doing, Pari?
Hello, Jai Baba.
How are you?
Hi,
doing?
Pari Masi. Hi, Janaisha. How are you? Good, Pari Masi. Jai Baba, everyone.
Ah, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Jai Baba, Jeff.
Where's that? Is that?
Rakesh.
Oh, okay.
Rakesh,
Jai Baba, everybody.
Jai Baba.
Dinku.
Yes.
Dinku.
Jai Baba.
Anybody have anything to share or any questions or anything?
Now, maybe this will initiate some thing in your mind so you can share something special with us. Here, I'm reading something from this particular book, Inviting His Grace. I'll just read a small paragraph here. Baba says, through my grace, a sudden crack in the roof can let the sunlight in on you immediately. But 1 in a million roofs might thus attract my grace. I am an ocean of grace, but I'm also hard as flint. When you try to draw that grace from me, the flow of my grace to you depends upon the intensity of your love. For it is love which attracts my grace to you.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Lovely.
I have something.
Yeah.
I was reading Discourses Volume 3, and then I just sort of came across on page 7, Baba says, those who are spiritually awake have been aware for some time that the world is at present in the midst of a period such as always precedes avataric manifestations. Always precedes avataric manifestations. And then later on he says, the breaking of my silence, the signal for my public manifestation, is not far off. And that line, for some reason, I mean, I've read it a bunch of times, but when he said, the breaking of my silence, the signal for my public manifestation. Now that just sort of triggered something in me. What does he mean by his public manifestation? The breaking of the silence means that his public manifestation. Yeah, just something about that really struck me differently. Like I've read it a lot, but
Did you guys see the email that came around about a gentleman having a Baba dream recently about what's going on now? If not, I will read it to you guys. It's quite profound.
And it kind of connects with what you're saying, Alan.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
This is a dream that a Baba person had up in the Chapel Hill, North Carolina area. And yeah, I think it's very significant.
Yeah. All right. So I got it from my thread. Let's just see. There it is. Okay. This dream was shared at one of our recent in-person Monday night meetings in Durham, Chapel Hill. The person then wrote it up, and since Baba said to share it, they asked that it be circulated. With a little review, it is not only quite revealing about the current time, but also about Baba's silence and his work in this Advent. Jai Baba. June 2nd, 2020. Several nights ago, I dreamed that I was in the log cabin at the Meher Spiritual Center. I felt the urge to go outside and walk to the edge of the bridge. On the other side of the bridge, I saw Baba. He was radiant and looked very mischievous. He beckoned for me to come to him, and as I started over the bridge, he playfully ran. I ran after him. He ran up the stairs to the lagoon cabin, but did not go in. Instead, he sat on the bench outside. I sat next to him. Baba looked intensely at me and said that everything that is happening in the world right now is just as it should be. Baba said that this is the time of the quickening, which is meant to change our vibration. He likened it to a radio signal, that by changing our vibration, it is like tuning a radio dial to pick up the station clearly. Baba said that this will give us the ability to more clearly hear him internally. Baba grinned and said, "Everyone has been waiting for me to speak." He said, and of course he was going to speak using the gift of this avataric dispensation, the gift of intuition. Baba said he was changing us and this world so that we could more fully receive this gift of intuition and hear him. When Baba said this to me in the dream, the obviousness of it hit me like a thunderbolt. It rang true and clear. Baba asked that I share this dream. When I awoke, and since then, I have felt profoundly changed. I feel a calmness, a deep sense of grace, an ability to better hear Baba. Jai Baba.
Yeah.
thank you.
Wow. It's quite a dream and quite personal and quite direct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other night we were talking about intuition, how to access intuition. And then the next day, that dream was circulated all around. It was
Wow.
kind of a nice coincidence.
And I also find it equally interesting that at this time, these Norina readings that were intuitively received by her are being circulated now. They've been dormant since the 30s.
Wow.
They've been dormant and buried in Meher Baba journals. Nobody paid attention to them. And now suddenly,
It's 11 o'clock.
you know, we're receiving it. Some of us anyway. So yeah, I just think that Baba is definitely preparing us to, or improving the sense of our ability to hear him more clearly within us. And he's urgently urging us to listen.
Yeah, I agree. The timing is so. I think most people agree there's something going on with this COVID worldwide, and I'm not necessarily Bible lovers, but people worldwide, and yeah. Both things. Yeah, the quickening. It's a great term for it.
And to be able to distinguish the difference between the deliverances of the mind and the intuition.
Mm.
That's that, that there's a distinction, but it takes it's almost like a jeweler that's able to tell the difference between a diamond and just a crystal.
Yeah.
But Baba is awakening us to that difference, so we can be guided by intuition and not by the intellect. Most people are guided by the mind. The mind has been the authority for so long, and we're switching over.
Yeah, I had this sort of I just sat with this idea that sort of came to me where if you imagine, if I just like I saw sort of like my own um, framework of thought, my framework of being in the world, of who I think I am, what I think I'm doing. It was all built up like these little Lego pieces, and it was all built up like these little connector, like just one after the other were put together, and they frame certain ways that I think and that I act. And when I was sitting with Baba and I was looking at his picture, and then I went from looking at his picture and I was like, can I still feel you the same way if I close my eyes? And then I just was like, whoa, okay, yeah, I can. And then it sort of became like a vacuum. It was like a vortex, or like a vacuum where things that I was giving him can literally be given, and then there's like this space that's left. And then from that space, I saw sort of this framework that of all these places that I hold who I think I am, and the things and the people I think I know and I think I like and dislike, and as I'm giving those things to Baba, those little frameworks start to dissolve, and yet I start to sometimes feel a sense of like, well, I'm not ready to let go of that, Baba. Like I don't know if I'm ready to let go of that just yet. And then there's the contraction, and I sort of just get back to my kind of scratch my eyes and get up and drink some kombucha or whatever, like, there's just like the practice though. I can sense that I don't understand what's going on, but by loving him and communing with him through a mental channel, there is something happening of developing that intuition or whatever that is. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The cool thing, Alan, is that, like I'm getting glimpses that he's just kind of glimmering everywhere. It's not just in his picture. He's like reaching out to us from everything, from flowers, from animals, from pets. Pets are acting really weird. They're acting really loving. I don't know what's going on with animals, but they are changing.
Yeah.
Well, look at this.
I'm sorry. My
Look at
daughter's cat was there on my bed, and the art, people were singing for Artie, and she started this incredible, I've never seen anything like it. She was rolling and purring, and I'm like, what? So
Yeah.
just because of the Artie and the vibes she was receiving, I guess.
I remember you showed her to us.
Yes, I did that night.
Exactly, girl. Look at this Zoom phenomenon. It's talk about quickening. It's just like lightning all over the world. It's amazing. We can just bask in Baba's love 24/7 practically. Pretty amazing.
That's a great thought,
Thanks,
Betty.
Angela.
I always keep thinking about this. I mean, all these WhatsApp things, and Baba is just trying to clean things up so quickly. People fight on WhatsApp, do all kinds of things, and there are also great things that happen on WhatsApp. And you get in touch with people you perhaps forgot in your life that they exist, but they come back, and again you're talking to them. So there is a whole lot of interaction that is taking place. And Zoom, like you said, is so beautiful. I mean, all the Baba lovers are together now. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine that. So beautiful. So it's like You know, I'm reminded of this saying by somebody, I think Kabir or whosoever. He said, keep the company of saints. And well, not necessarily all are saints, but are great people amongst us. So, so we are keeping company of good people, and that's enough for us.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And Baba started the whole thing with Zoom, you know, with that alphabet board.
Wow. Oh dear. I've got to go. Good night, friends. See
Yeah.
you
See you,
tomorrow.
Betty.
Hey, Baba.
Good night, Betty. And you too, Prakash and Shailaja, you look so cute and adorable in those shirts. And
Yeah, we got them this afternoon, and yeah, I'm like, we have
very nice. And you sing that arty so, oh my God, you're the arty lady now. So beautiful. Thank you.
Good night, all. Good morning to everyone in India.
Yeah.
Jai Baba. See you
Jai
again tomorrow.
Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, Jeff, to continue your thought, to me, this appears like a pre-manifestation training.
Say that again?
To me, it appears like pre-manifestation training. So Baba is preparing us slowly and slowly. I mean, at least we are so focused on him, and probably we can handle when that happens, public manifestation that Alan just mentioned about. We'll be in a slightly better shape.
Yeah. Yeah, he's creating more space within us to receive a much larger experience of life.
But I still wonder about the thing Alan mentioned, public manifestation. Anybody has thoughts on that? Jeff and anybody else?
Sorry, what did you say, Prakash?
You just mentioned about public manifestation, right? And I was wondering, I'm sure Baba did speak on that in some way. And if anybody remembers anything about that, that'll be, if anybody can share, that'll be great. I'm looking to Jeff straight.
Well, here's the interesting thing. When I grew up, back in the Neanderthal age, the word spirituality, spiritual was like a poetic word. It didn't refer to any experience, especially. The word vibration was, we know what vibration is, but back then it was like what happened when your car started to get run down. And you were either conscious or you were knocked unconscious. Now look at what Baba has done in the meantime. We all know all about consciousness. It refers to our experience, vibration. We pick up vibration now. We are so different, really. It's happened so gradually that we don't know, but people know these things now. All the different levels of consciousness and intuition and and so that in itself is a tremendous manifestation of what Baba did. Because he took the 1950s kind of, people were pretty nice and everything, but they just didn't have the awareness that they have now. And people just now, it's just part of everybody's experience. What Baba must have done to bring that off, And then where is he going to take us? And then, like I say, the gift today is, in this Advent, is intuition. We're going to be moving more and more into intuition.
Vibration.
Go ahead.
Sorry, who was that?
Eastern? The vibration that you talk about. Can
Oh,
you hear me?
Marie.
The frequency.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, the awakening is energetics. It is the more and more moment by moment awareness of the presence of vibration, of energy, of love. And how does that manifest? It doesn't manifest in Baba's face as a human being. It's experienced for me, and it can just be the wind blowing through the trees, and it feels like God is kissing the leaves of the trees or in a blade of grass. I mean, just everything around me is like God is manifesting. It's like everything is beautiful. It is really on heaven on earth when we're in a state of higher frequency. And that's what I think is happening. And since there's no beginning or end to God, there's no end or beginning to how he would manifest, because as we expand our consciousness and our awareness and vibration frequency, we just become more and more aware of God and everything. So
Yeah. No, what you say is true, Marie. It's just, it's extraordinary what is present around us, if especially if we can get into a quiet state and start to see these beautiful things around us in a much greater depth.
and within, and also within us, when we're silent, when we go into love, the experience of peace that we can find in ourselves. I mean, gosh, I mean, that word alone, when I experience that, it's so deep. There's just no words for it.
Yeah.
So and I mean, I'm not the only one. This is happening around the planet now, where people in this time of quiet is joining more in that vibration and realizing that love is with us always, wherever we are. I just think it's a beautiful time to be alive, to see this happening.
And you know, being that we are all connected.
Yes, we're the one.
At the soul level, obviously, we're all one, and we're connected. And as the number of people increase that are being awakened and, you know, quickened, the whole planet also, you know, we're probably moving in a region of space-time that is also more enlightened, you know. I mean, this is the end of a Kali Yuga, beginning of this new age, you know, so everything is quickening, not just us, but the earth itself, you know, it's trying to cleanse itself, to prepare itself for the new environment, the new vibrations, you know, the whole toxicity that's all around us. The earth is gonna just shake it off because it needs to. You know, it can't move into that new direction with that garbage, you know. So not only are we shedding our own garbage, but I think environmentally and politically and financially and everything is just, the world is shaking itself loose. I think that's, you know, the beginning of what's happening. And it's going to be hard because those paradigms have been around for so long, and people are really attached to their money, to their houses, to their boats, to their multi-billion-dollar corporations and their fat bonus checks every year. You know, it's like, that's hard to let go of. So there's just this battle, you know?
Yeah.
But in the end, I think righteousness and peace and love are gonna win. They're gonna win because there's no way out. There's no other way.
Yeah.
Very, very
I
beautifully
agree.
said, Parish, there.
I agree, but I think, you know, there's a lot more, what do you say? A lot more of this is going to come out, because like, for example, here in India, I noticed that, you know, environmentally, there's so much more destruction in the works. You know, they want to destroy forests for the sake of development and stuff like the sea. They're reclaiming a lot of the sea here in Bombay to make a coastal road. And in spite of all what's happening in the world, they're just going ahead full steam. So I think it's like getting a lot of this muck out. A lot more will be coming out before it finally has to settle down.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
So. Yeah.
Then the only thing we need to do is hang on to his Daman.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
with both hands. I remember I met with Bal Natu, and then when I came back to Phoenix, he wrote me a little note card saying, now that you have found the master and you have found your way, fly like the swan, don't flitter here and there, just, you know, fly like a swan straight, don't be distracted by anything. And then he said, and hang on to his daman. So I remember reading that. That was like the first time I heard it, you know, so I immediately responded to that phrase, which was really interesting because daman is a Persian word, which means skirt. And I said, well, Baal, I do not trust my hands to hang on to Baba's daman. So what I've done is I have sewn myself to the hem of his daman.
How lovely.
Beautiful. Yeah.
No, Baba actually said at some point also, he said, hold with both hands. I mean, so I mean, that
Yeah.
how slippery the daman is. It can be testing, but we hope Baba takes care of.
Yeah, even my thread could wear out, you know. But I made sure it's a strong brand.
Yes. I think my brother mentions all the time, look, Baba has put that word daman in Beloved God's Prayer and see how important it is. And that's what he says. Holding on to his daman is something we are doing that prayer every day, perhaps twice. And so he's actually trying to help remind ourselves how important holding on to his daman is. So,
You know, I related,
go ahead.
I don't know if I related here, but Erich one day in Mandalay Hall, he said, what does it mean to hold on to Baba's daman? And, you know, we all gave different answers, you know, what it was. And in the end, Erich said, holding on to his form, holding on to his personality. You know, that's what, and I don't, and some of you, especially the people from India, that in the story of Krishna, well, Ramakrishna, who was one of the perfect masters back in the 1800s, he was asked, what is the highest form of love? And he said, he related how Krishna grew up in this village, and all these women and all the young people, they loved and adored him, even though he was really destined to be the king. His uncle had kind of usurped his real role. So they grew up with him, and he was playful, and he played the flute and everything. And then when Krishna was 16, he went off and he became the king. And he hadn't come back to Brindaban, but he sent one of his ministers. I can't remember his name, Udwara or something like that. Anyway, he came, and as he was coming down the hill, all the gopis, the women, all ran up and said, "Where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? Why don't you bring Krishna? Where is he?" And his minister said, "But you know, Krishna is the Lord of the universe. He's everywhere. He's right here." "Oh, don't tell us about that. We want Krishna. Why don't you bring him?" That's the highest. Krishna said that's the, Ramakrishna said that's the highest form of love. That you want him, the man, in flesh and blood. And Ramakrishna gave another example where when Ram was around with some of his disciples, and Hanuman, who was coming and approaching Ram for the first time, and Ram said, "I'm going." He was a disciple. I mean, he was a follower of Vishnu, and so Ram says, "See that man there? He takes God as Vishnu. I'm going to have to change into the form of Vishnu." So right in front of them, Ram changed into the form of Vishnu, and Hanuman came, and fell at his feet. So his love for Vishnu was so powerful that it forced Ram to take the form of Vishnu. Ramakrishna said that's the highest form of love.
Beautiful.
So it's.
But we're not the body, and Baba is God. And I mean, like, I have pictures of Baba, and I have all these favorite pictures, and I understand him as my beloved. But when I think of him, I think of him as infinite and eternal love. And the communications of love, holding on to God, holding on the reality of the truth of who he is, not that he's a form. That's really a hard one for me to get.
Yeah, everybody is kind of different. Some people are more drawn to the formless aspect, God, the essence.
Right.
And some more strictly in form. It's just has to do with your particular your particular approach.
I used to dream of Krishna all the time, and I was a gopi. And the first time I ever saw a picture of Mira Baba was in Berkeley on a lamppost, and he turned blue. I mean, he was Krishna, but he was Mira Baba. It was a picture of Mira Baba.
Yeah.
But, so I really think I had a lot of lifetimes where I really loved Krishna. So that form really penetrates. But I mean, there's so many more forms of Baba since I became a Baba lover.
Yeah.
That, I really love. But and Baba speaks to me. Like, I've had the same picture on the wall for 60 years. So, and Jill Davis gave it to me. And so it is a picture I really love, and it communicates with me. So, but the
it reminds me of that song that says, "If God didn't come as a man, how could we know that we love him so?"
I love that song. I mean, I love all the Baba songs. They're pure love. Songs are the language of love.
And see, Baba's form is different from ours. Our form naturally blocks the light. Our impressions and sanskaras veil the light. In Baba's case, he's the light itself. His body is actually, if he didn't have a body, we'd be blinded by his light. If he didn't have a body, we'd be overpowered by his presence.
And that happened to a few people when they inadvertently saw him when he was actually uncloaked. Not that he was out of body, but he was uncloaked. He had released that protective layer between him and people. Yeah. And they did go blind. People went blind, and they.
That's another form of God. Maybe that's the light. Could that be?
Yes. So his body's a little different, It's like they're like sunglasses.
I had one vision once of the Blessed Mother. This was a long time ago. And I just jumped in bed. I was reading a book. I always read every night before I went to bed. And all of a sudden, these little tiny particles of light, like dust particles, like in a window. If you have dust in a window and the light comes through, all these little dust particles started forming, coalescing together. And then two angels on both sides. And anyhow, it turned into being the Blessed Mother. And we spoke mind to mind, and she said, I come throughout time and space with a different name and a different face to a different place. And she did that. She turned into every kind of Madonna. And then the Kuan Yin, that Mexican Madonna she turned into every Madonna that ever was. And it was just a lot. It was like a lot about explaining the communication. For a year, all I could do was draw pictures of what I saw in a journal. I kept dreaming.
Do you have one that you can show us?
You know what? This is terrible. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I went through a really difficult time in my relationship, and I was so mad with what was going on. I tore the whole thing up. And I regret that because I had so many precognitive dreams and experiences. Like, I wrote my dreams down. In 5 years, I became interested in Carl Jung for years. I read everything about him, and so dreams were really important. And so I would write all these dreams down, and it would be 5 years between having a dream, and I'd go to somebody's house. The minute I walked in, I could tell you what was in every room of that house because I dreamt about that house like 5 years before. And that was a big, that's what anger does. So anger has been, besides patience, anger has been something else. But so and then I felt like God, like in church once, everybody was holding candles, and it was like everybody became the body of Christ in that church with the candles, holding the candles. There was just Christ. There was nobody else. It was just the oneness of the. So I've had so many. I think because I have dyslexia, really bad dyslexia, people can't understand that. When I was growing up, nobody knew what that was. And so I never could see what other people saw. The letters just changed. Like I was supposed to go to court. I had a ticket. This is just a couple of weeks ago. This just shows the things that could do. I was supposed to go to on the 5th, but by the time I got home, I didn't remember the 5th. And when I saw it, when I was writing on my calendar, it turned into the 6th. So I go to court with the ticket and they go, well, your court date was yesterday. And I go, no, it's a 6th. I wrote it down when I got home. No, your court date was yesterday. And so I didn't know what to say. I get tired of making excuses, but this happens to me all the time. I don't know what I really saw and what I didn't see, because what I saw was a 6th. And so when I said, well, you're in luck because the policeman didn't show up, so we're not going to charge you anything. So I said, this is a miracle, because, I was speeding and I had a big ticket for it. So, but I put the calendar, I saw the 5 as a 6 when I got home. And I put it on 3 calendars so I wouldn't forget. And so God gives me grace. By grace, I'm really lucky. So Baba does that.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Hey, Julie Engsberg, you there? Or Rakesh, I guess you're there. There's someone down in with an M, and it looks like the Eiffel Tower kind of.
Those are hands in prayer.
Oh yeah, okay. Maybe I should put my glasses on. Yeah.
What were you seeing? Jeff, what were you seeing?
Oh, there's somebody has an M and 2 hands.
Oh, I see.
I thought it was like the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, I really like what you were saying, Jeff, about the Baba's physical form, because I'm glad that when I sort of had that experience going to the Northeast Gathering and hearing Charles talk about his daily life with Baba, the fact was that I was in that moment just thinking that I was hearing an older gentleman talk about his childhood days of meeting a nice old man that he loved very much. That's really because I wasn't a Baba lover at the time in that moment. And so having it be built up to that point where I was just sort of like hearing this very beautiful, intimate story of him connecting with this very loving old man that sort of knew everything, but that wasn't too surprising. Somehow that was just natural, and he was just so natural, and it made me feel natural in the way that my heart was opening to Baba in that moment. And then I think I spent so much time just sort of looking for the beyond, the infinite kind of like aspect. I feel like I got lost along the way, and
in the divine essence.
Yeah, the divine, and so I sort of just now recently have just when I was talking about looking at Baba's photograph and looking into his eyes specifically, it's like I feel like at this point in my life I have to do that more than imagining the infinite aspect, because it connects me almost instantly to him, to the man, to whatever those eyes hold. There's something about that for me that is very helpful, and perhaps over time I won't need them, or I won't. I remember Eric talking about that. Like first you listen to it, you put his pictures up, you hear people talk about him who have been around him. You dream about him. It's nice, and then but as life goes on, then you start seeing him and feeling him really, really like everywhere, and his presence is in the pollution, in the person yelling at you, in the beautiful car you just got, in every aspect he is. And but you experience that rather than having to be like, oh wait, I haven't thought about Baba all day. Oh, like that doesn't, so I don't think I'm really in that place yet. Yeah, I really have to work with him, with hearing his stories and things like that to keep me sort of on track, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I say, it's always been, I've always was attracted to the man, the human side of Baba.
Yeah.
Uh, but Ram Nori, I mean, all he does is, I mean, he's wearing his mask there, and he doesn't even get the idea that Zoom, he's already protected because we're just on computer here. It's pathetic.
What can I say, Jeff? So now that now that you saw, the human side of Baba, somehow I always thought he was God. I never saw him as a human being. I always saw him as God.
Can you describe like your first time you actually saw him? What that was like? How old were you?
The first few times I don't even remember. The first time I recollect seeing him when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and then again at 7 years old. 7 years old, it was the East-West gathering, So I mean, I was one among some 10,000 people. So you just saw him, you just go down, you touched him, and even at that point, we looked at him. He was just God. Maybe it was drilled into our mind that he is God. He's not human. So these things were taught at a very young age. So I always looked up to him as God. But don't ask me what is the definition of God. So,
but now, but when you were observing him, at the East-West gathering, say, you're looking at him and how he's responding, how he's, his moods, whatever is going on. What were you picking up there? What were you?
So when we were at the darshan program, the first thing that I observed was, Baba was always moving his fingers, So I asked my aunt, so he's always moving his fingers. So she said, he's actually looking at you, he's counting all the mistakes you're doing. That's what she told me.
He's what?
Is counting all the mistakes and all the mischief I was doing. So
how do you feel about that?
Yeah, and it does. And I also do remember my father, who's very light skinned. So he took the darshan, and then he went back again to take darshan along with the Westerners. So Baba looked at him and he said, "Hey," I said, "only once." So he came back and said, "When there are so many people, how is he keeping track of, how many times each one of us took his darshan?"
Yeah.
So he says, unless he is God, you can't keep track of it.
That's good. Yeah, there are other people that tried to sneak in line, come back through again, and Baba would catch them.
Yeah.
Even though there were thousands of people going by. Yeah.
Oh.
I would definitely try to sneak.
Yeah. You know what the Luck brothers did one time? There were Eddie and Irwin Luck. They were two. Baba kind of called them as divine idiots. They were kind of they were all for Baba. But when they were at the East-West gathering, and the Westerners would be in there, and then the Easterners would be in. So the Westerners went out, and so they found a place to look through this keyhole, and they looked through the keyhole, and they could see Baba up on the dais, and I think it was Eddie looked first through, and he looked there, and Baba turned and went like this. I mean, he went like that at the keyhole that they were looking at, and so I think Eddie says, "Well, Erwin, take a look. You know, Baba sees us," and so he went down and he looked through this keyhole, and Baba, at the moment he did, Baba goes, Baba goes, looks at it and goes like that. So he was very aware because they were supposed to kind of leave the area. I mean, they were supposed to, but they stayed back and sneaked a look at Baba.
Wow, so I didn't know, Ram Nori, that you had met Baba. I had no idea.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it. I mean, if you look at the guy, you kind of wonder if he saw anything, Maybe
Yeah.
talk about the story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have well, I have a bunch of songs that you sang when you came to Karen Talbot's house once, but I just got a new camera and I got all these parts of songs, so I don't have very many of your songs, which I love. But there's a CD of you singing in a cabin there at Myrtle Beach, right there. I don't know which cabin it is,
Yeah.
but you're playing one song and singing. I play that all the time because the love that I feel in you when you sing that song is so beautiful. And like the people that read poetry tonight, I mean, it just touched my heart so deeply. So, I mean, there's so many ways of experiencing the love that other people give. Music is certainly one of them. Poetry is another one. I mean, these are all, to me, languages of God. And you can just dissolve in God's love and everything around you. But music for me is it. But what it brings is a question like there's consciousness and awareness, there's emotions and their feelings. And that's all part of God. And then there's God in silence, and then there's God with nothing at all. So to define what God is like all of that. And I don't even know what I'm trying to form a question, but I can't get the question I'm forming. It's just, it all comes down to love, I guess, in some form or other. And that's how I experience what God is.
Yeah. Yeah, Baba would say, what is not God?
Well, that puts it pretty simply, doesn't it?
That's what Baba said, yeah.
Well, that's a really good question, though. Like, what if everything is God? What is not God then?
The
Really?
good, the bad, the beautiful, the holy, everything, everything in existence.
Baba said that God realization is the simultaneous experience of the extreme opposites.
I have to give some thought to that.
You have to get the whole. I mean, it's very difficult.
It sounds excruciatingly beautiful.
To stretch your whole being to include everything.
Love and hate, everything.
Not just
The good, the holy, and the beautiful.
There was a saying. There used to be something in this desk. No longer here. Oh wait.
Hey, Baba, Dinku. She's saying she has to leave.
Oh, Dinku's got to leave.
Yeah. She might have already left. Yasmin says the everything and the nothing.
Yeah. Where's Yasmin?
I don't know.
Oh, right down there, bottom left. I think she means to say Baba is everything and nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
The whole enchilada.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I really, that was unexpected. I was like over here sipping on this chocolate milk, and then Ram Nori is saying he's was there meeting Baba. I almost spit the chocolate milk out.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he had met Baba before.
Yeah.
That's. But then I felt the wave. I almost felt like through the ethers, of your physical form that was there with his physical form when you shared that. It just
Yeah.
really, it really was very touching for me. So thank you.
And Ashu, did you meet Baba?
I don't think they are old enough. I don't think so. They're pretty young. Ashur,
Her father. I mean, she could tell the story of her father. He
Yeah.
always had a fixation on salt. He always had to have salt with his meal.
Mm-hmm.
Who are
Hey,
you talking about?
Rakesh?
Ashima? Ashima's dad?
Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
Gokara. I guess they're offline something. Anyway, he had this fixation from his childhood. He always wanted to have salt with his meal, and so in his uh, military training, I think he had to do some military training. The military training, they did an exercise that was over in the fields near Marazad.
Merazad. Yeah.
Just happened by Marazad.
Wow.
And they did these exercises, and then they brought these tallies, these big trays with food, but there was no salt. You know, he wanted salt, and he was so kind of fanatic about it. He walked down this road all the way down to this gate and asked them for some salt. I think they gave him some salt, you know, but that place happened to be Marazad. In other words, you know, I mean, he came to Baba later, but he already had that, he was already prompted to go and go to the, you know, right to the Baba's door, you might say. And Baba, of course, was there. And then it was, yeah, okay, there's Ashima. Hey, can you tell us about your father? I
You
didn't know.
just give her a chance to wake up and get a cup of coffee.
Yeah. So, so there's a saying in Hindi, says "Namak khaya aapka," means I've eaten your salt. So it means I have to be faithful to you.
Ah, the Persians
So I
have the
guess,
same thing.
yeah.
But now you didn't meet Baba though, did you?
No,
Uh-huh.
I didn't. Although I was born in 66, but I didn't meet him physically.
Yeah. But I'm sure your dad told Baba that you were born, right?
Yeah. So he was informed, and Baba sent a telegram giving his blessings to the baby and the mother. So the telegrams always used to come with Baba's name on it. And my parents used to always write letters to Baba, which were responded by either Bhauji or Erich. If it was in Hindi, then Bhauji would write. If it was in English, then Erich would write. So, yes.
Yeah.
And you are the daughter of Gokaran? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Nice to meet you.
Same here. I've seen you, Parishte.
Yes,
before.
I've seen you as well. I just didn't know the connection.
Anything that you can remember from your mom and dad's meeting with Baba? Anything that?
Well, there's one story which probably you all would enjoy. My father used to write to Baba every now and then. You know, everything about his life he would write to Baba. And one day the thought came to his mind that how nice it would be if I get a job of the postman, because the postman gets to deliver all the letters from all the lovers to Baba and Baba's letters to them. So it would be so nice if I get a job of the postman. And so once he came to Ahmednagar, and he went to Adi's office, which is in the trust office compound. And so he was informed that Baba is not in Merazad right now, but he was in Pune. And he would be coming back in a day or two, and he would be passing by. So Adi told him that you cannot meet him, but while he passes by, his car would slow down near the trust office and you could probably stand on the road and have a glance at him. So he was very happy. He said, okay, And so while he was waiting there, Adi said, but there is some work, if you are free, you could do. So he said, yes. So Adi said, there is some mail which has come, which has to be delivered to Merazat. So if you have the time, would you go and deliver it to Merazat? And you can take a cycle and ride there. So he got a chance to deliver all these letters to Merazat. So his wish of being a postman was fulfilled.
Beautiful. Did he get a little glimpse of Baba when he kind of pulled?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I think the next day when Baba passed by, he had already met Baba before that. But so when Baba was passing by, he slowed the car and rolls down the window for some time while he passes from there. So he got a glimpse of Baba.
Yeah, Adi was very good at getting these people kind of on the side of the road. He knew when Baba was going to be coming and going, and he kind of set them up on the side of the road somewhere where they would get a glimpse of Baba. Even though Baba wasn't receiving anybody or seeing anybody at Mirzad, but he would, tell them, well, wait at this particular place. He's should be coming by there at, such and such a time. And they would do it. And sometimes Baba would actually stop the car and call them over and everything, and then embrace them, caress them, and then they would drive on. Beautiful.
I've heard that even Madhusudan's first meeting happened like that only.
Yeah.
He was told to stand on the road and wait for Baba's car to pass.
Yeah. And they waited about, I don't know, maybe 8 hours or something.
Yes, quite a few hours. And then he said, I don't want to wait here anymore. I think he was tired and he was ready to leave. And that's when the car honked and the lights came, headlights. So somebody said, oh, the car is coming. And with that bright light, he fainted over there. Madhusudan.
Yeah.
Wow.
The sight of Baba. Yeah. The same scene he had dreamed the night before.
Oh.
He had never met Baba before, but the scene, he had a dream in which, that's another whole thing. But when he met Baba, it was exactly like his dream. Baba looked exactly like it and responded to him. It's beautiful.
Jeffrey, tell us some of your Baba dreams.
I have not, it's funny. I had dreams back in the 70s, but I haven't had a dream of Baba since. But when I was a kid, my religion was baseball. I really loved baseball. I mean, I was even scouted by the Yankees, but I had a dream in which I looked out there, batting practice. I looked out there and Baba is the pitcher, and I was trying to debate, well, I should just go up there and be the first one to take batting practice. I mean, there are other people that want to, but there he was. Baba was like, I did eventually go up there and he was pitching to me. So he really took a scene out of my childhood and played the coach of the baseball team who was, pitching batting practice. So, I mean, how could he have, he picked the very thing, one of the very things that my heart and soul was into in growing up. Beautiful. And then one time, I had a dream in which we were at the Dalit. The Dalit was one of these dumpy places that we stayed at in 1971 in India, because there was no pilgrim center, so you had to stay in town. And I had this dream in which I was Baba was in like a bungalow or something, and we were all people were in line to go and be embraced by him, and um, it was very vivid. And the next day, I think the Mongoli asked, and I narrated this experience, and Baba kind of caressed me and everything like that. And this guy pipes up and says, "You didn't dream that. That was my dream." Well, he kind of like, you're just lying. I that was my dream. Well, it turned out we were both in the same dream, and he was in line watching as Baba embraced me. And as it turned out, in the Dalit, we were only this far away from. He was in one room on the bed, and I was on my bed separated by about 6-inch wall. And we both had the same dream, same Baba dream, in which we were there. It was beautiful.
Wow.
But he initially thought that I was stealing his dream, but we actually were in the same dream. Yeah.
Inception movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeff, now that you mentioned actually about you being a baseball guy, I was a huge cricket fan. And there were these two Indian cricket players, Pari Mubaraki and Nari Contractor, both captain India. They were like, Pari Mubaraki especially, like Babe Ruth of Indian cricket. And he was taking Baba's darshan in 1965. And I spotted him.
Oh, wow.
So my reaction was at that point, these guys are pure mortals, so they can go away. Baba is God. He's going to be there everywhere. So my focus was on Pari Mubaraki and Nari Contractor.
Uh-huh.
So eventually I did run up to them, and eventually I got both their autographs. So do you know Shireen? Shireen Lala?
Shireen Lala.
Yeah.
That's Polly's daughter.
Who?
Yeah, it's Polly Uncle's daughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was, so the focus, see, as a kid, you take things for granted. So I knew Pari Mubaraki, won't be there for very long. He's going to go away. So I wish I didn't do it back then. But what did I know about God back then? Nothing. Even I still don't know anything about God.
Yep. Well, beautiful. No, Baba gave you a little treat. You got to see your two heroes.
Yeah.
I mean, because it was always difficult for the children sometime because, people were standing in line and they were there to play. And one time, a bunch of the Parsi guys, the Zoroastrian guys, while everybody was in having darshan, they didn't have too much to do, and hours are going by, so they took what each people's one sandal of people, and they threw it in this fountain. You probably heard that, and they threw them all over the place. So when the people came out after darshan, nobody could find their sandals or their shoes. I mean, it was chaotic, sheer chaos. And of course, Baba eventually brought them in.
It was Rustum and Saurabh, right?
Yeah, they were some of the ringleaders, and I think some of the mystery brothers and different ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jai Baba, I got to go. See you all.
Yeah. See you, Prakash.
See you, Jai Baba.
So now I heard this story. I don't know. You probably heard it too. So though there were so many people, and people had this doubt, oh, is Baba paying attention to me? I mean, that's easy even aware that, I'm actually here sitting. So there were these two people, they were sitting there were wooden barricades, and there was this person, she was sitting there, and she was looking at Baba and very unaware of that, Baba, is keeping track of everybody. So after a couple of days, she said, well, I'm so far away, Baba is not going to see. So she moved. And when she got a chance to see Baba, Baba asked, why did you move?
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
I remember that story. Yeah.
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 So he was.
Alan, you got any subjects or topics or anything? Did that any of that intuition make sense at all?
The intuition.
Yeah, we were talking about intuition the other.
Yeah, I think it was Prakash that was asking about that, and initially was asking if what we had thought about. I think for myself, I don't know, just been seeing on a daily basis just the I just feel like Baba is since I know intellectually that he is, he placed me in every situation and everything. There's less of this need to be kind of like begging him for things to be different in a certain way. But at the same time, and therefore, that line of practice for me helps me to surrender to what is and to remember that Baba has placed, Baba has placed me in this situation. Baba wants me to be happy. Baba wants me to be depressed. Baba wants me this. And there's another part of me, like I said from the other day, that struggles against that intuition or that surrenderance, which says, it's obviously my mind, which is like, well, Baba, why, how come I'm not like, how come I'm not an actor, or how come I'm not doing something that makes me feel, makes me feel good? Like, why do I have to be like sandpapered down? Like this voice that like kind of like is fighting back, and like, why can't I do what I want? And I don't know. It's just been interesting to see that on a daily basis because all I do pretty much is. Really, all I do is in and out. Is I just work, and then I come here, and then I go to sleep. That's how my life is now. So,
Yeah.
so I and then thinking of him as as much as I can is I hope is developing intuition, and at the same time, like Ram Nori was saying, what do I know about God or His ways? I have no idea what's going on. So it's a little bit like flabbergasting, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
That's my little
Yeah.
piece for the day.
Yeah, it's there was one of Baba's Mandali. You probably haven't heard much about him, named Chuggin Master, and this is kind of my sense of it. He he was one of the early Mandali, very tall, slender guy. And and at one point he went and got married, and it kind of changed he was no longer kind of there all the time at Mehrabad, but then toward the latter years he spent a lot of time with Baba. But he never felt that what he did was what Baba really wanted. I mean, he just kind of felt that that
It's 12 o'clock.
he didn't do what Baba had really wanted him to do. But then he passed on there in I think 72, and a friend of mine was with him, and as he was dying, he realized that he had done everything that Baba wanted him to do.
Wow.
And he was so, the joy was there at the end. He had done exactly what Baba, lived the life that Baba had wanted him to live. But he didn't know that until his dying moments, kind of a time release, so to speak. And so what I mean is that you think, oh, well, maybe I should be doing this life instead of that life, and, it's, yeah, it's kind of not that at all, but, it's, but it's, Annie Lovett, that one of the
Oh,
caretakers
she's
of the center,
beautiful.
she kind of describes the thought that circulates around in people's head for so many human beings is uh, maybe I should be somewhere else with someone else doing something else. I mean, that thought just keeps, what is it? Just keeps rotating around in their head,
Yeah, like circulating.
circulating in their brain.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be somewhere else with someone else doing something else.
Yeah.
I mean, if you lifted the lid off of most people's heads, that's probably what you would be hearing.
Right.
But I mean, it's good to see that in relation, because accepting our life, Baba says, accept your lot in life, be content.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's, yeah, like, am I really living up to my potential? Shouldn't I be doing this instead of that? All of that way of thinking is it, I mean, is way off in a way.
Yeah.
But those thoughts come in, man, I should be somewhere else.
I mean, I wonder what like Margaret or these incredibly creative artistic types who went from having these studios and these performances, and all of a sudden they were in a very different scenario when living with Baba. I wonder if they have had those thoughts.
Yeah, I know it's, yeah, am I really making use of my talents, my abilities? And I'm just out here on a hillside in rural India on a pile of rocks, and my career, and my
Fighting over
career
shoe shine.
totally shot.
Yeah, and they were arguing over shoe shine and
Yeah, I know it's all yeah, incredible.
Alan, can you hear me?
yeah.
I don't know you at all, but I would like to tell you something that I feel about you.
Sure.
You're intensely beautiful as a being.
Thank you.
You remind me, like, I'm very much into art and beauty and, acting and music. You have more beauty and expression, like a musician, like an artist. Wherever you go, I can tell you your intention of the beauty that's in you radiates outward, wherever you are, no matter what you're doing, because I don't even know you. And you have a quality that comes out of you that's incredibly beautiful. And I just feel I have to tell you that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Marie is she, she's pretty intuitive. She can see. Yeah.
I mean, you really are. There's nothing you have to do. You just are that. And that it's very, I could just watch you forever. You don't have to do anything. You say anything. I just see all this beauty coming out of you. So wherever you go, you're bringing Baba. And that's.
And then there's Ram and me,
Well, I've loved you forever,
Less
Jeff.
said the better, Jeff.
Well, everybody's like a song or a beautiful poem. I mean, because
Hey, so my thought is I might head off to bed, but I mean, Julie, are you still there?
I think this.
Or Paula Roper? Paula Roper? Paula.
Well,
yeah, Nasreen? These are names.
Yes, I'm still here. I've just been enjoying it I had to just rest today, so I'm like kind of grateful to have this going in and out as I doze. And I hope you don't mind if I've used it that way.
No, yeah, no, that's one of our major functions is we're the melatonin of the Baba world.
Thank you for all of you.
Yeah.
It's really, every one of you give me a gift of your presence. I specialized in you tonight, Alan, because I was amazed at all the transformations I saw from you. But I had Ram's talk, all of them, the poems that people said. I mean, everything touches my heart so deeply. I feel so blessed to be a part of it.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nasreen, Nasreen has suddenly appeared.
So I'm gonna say good night.
Yeah. Good night, Marie.
Good night, all.
Good night, Jai Baba.
Thank you, Jeff. Jai Baba, everyone.
Good night, Jai Baba.
Good night. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Yes, Nasreen, nice.
Thank you. We learn a lot and we enjoy a lot.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much. We always enjoy your presence in this program.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
What about Payam? Is Payam still around?
Okay, you won't believe where I am. Hold on. I have been taking you guys on every errand. I can't put this down. I'm in the grocery store at 10 o'clock at night with my mask on, but I'm taking Baba with me wherever. So here we go.
Beautiful. Yeah, lovely.
So, Jai
great,
Baba.
Great to see you.
Yeah, Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Good to hear everybody.
Yeah. Oh, so you.
And I agree with you all. I feel Baba's like opening my heart, and I don't know, with all the Zoom and prayers. So I was at work today, intense work, and I don't know, somehow I just feel like as if, Baba, I'm holding him in my hand, doing the things I have to do. He's right there next to me. And I didn't used to feel that this much.
Yeah, lovely.
I don't know if you can understand with this silly mask on, but.
Yeah, no, we hear you perfectly.
Yeah.
There was a saying, a Christian saying, the saints found Jesus within them. The early Christians found Jesus beside them.
Oh.
So this is the era of finding Baba beside you,
Yes.
In the future, we'll have to dive deep to find him. Right now, he's just kind of right along with us.
Yeah.
You know, Jeff, that reminds me of something that this Irani friend of mine, actually they were tenants of my dad's apartment, and when I went to dinner at their house, he said to me, well, you always bring your Baba with you. I'm like, I just took that lightly, thinking, well, whatever she means, that's really sweet of her. She must be feeling something, Baba's love maybe through me or something. So we were sitting down at the dinner table, and she says, yeah, he's standing right behind you.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You really bring him in.
She meant it literally.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes when Darwin would talk, or even Charles Haynes would talk, they would see Baba. Some people would actually see Baba there. Yeah. We never did find out who this M and the prayerful hands.
وای من حواسم نبود ویدیو رو روشن کرد.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah, Paula, are you still around?
I think Paula went bye-bye, Zizi.
Oh, okay. Well, that's right. Anyway.
Who, Paula?
Is Paula there?
Paula.
Yeah, no, I'm here. My son called me. So And actually it made us both feel a lot better.
Yeah, oh, good. Yeah, I know. Sometimes something like that can change the whole inner atmosphere, you know, just, yeah. I had to send an email to somebody apologizing today because in my heart I didn't feel quite right. I had in my previous exchange with them, I hadn't hit quite the right tone. And so it was kind of weighing on me. And so I wrote an email and I made a call and made an email and it kind of lifted the thing.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so those kinds of things. Sometimes we can do something, you know.
It not only helps them, it helps us to apologize, you know, it just
Yeah.
lifts the burden.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that definitely did. Well, I think I'm going to go and I'm going to do something meaningful. And Ram Nori, he's going to go to Starbucks and get a coffee down the street.
Man, no Starbucks. That reminds me, you know, one of those silence days, you know, I mean, I used to go to work and a lot of times, you know, I mean, I would just have a note saying that I don't speak. And people, you know, when they read the note and they can speak, but they would still, you know, mime, you know, they'll say, you know, they would act out as though, you know, they are not supposed to speak.
Yeah, I know. They think you're both mute and deaf at the same time.
And yeah, and once it so happened, you know, I mean, like I was in Starbucks and it was in the evening. So I sneezed and instinctively somebody said, bless you. And then instinctively I said, thank you. I said, oh my God, what did I do?
Yep.
So you have to be very careful.
Yeah, you have to be very careful. Don't talk to any animals and don't read any books, any novels, because nobody in the novel is observing silence.
Yeah.
Hey, well, folks.
Okay.
See you guys.
Okay, Jai Baba, good
Yeah,
night.
Jai Baba,
Thank you.
everybody.
Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba,
And have,
I managed to survive this late. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, see you.
Good
Okay.
night.
Yeah.
Good night, Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Jai Baba, if I don't see you all, have a great, happy Silence Day.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Jai
Yes.
Baba.
And don't
Jai
sneeze.